Expressing fractions as terminating or repeating decimals. So how do you change a fraction into a decimal? It's pretty easy. Remember that this symbol is actually a division symbol. What this means is 1 divided by 2. And if you look at 1 divided by 2, put that top dog in the house. 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. If you wanted to change 3/4 into a decimal, you just put the top dog in the house, divide it by 4, and then 3/4 as a decimal is 0.75. Now you can do this with any fraction. It doesn't matter what it is. If you wanted to change 18/31 into a decimal, you would do 18 divided by 31. Now some of these may not and probably don't come out. You'd have to round them to the nearest tenth or hundredth, but you could do 175 471st. You would just put that top dog in the house, 175, and divide it by 471. Well, we're just going to take a look at some more basic examples. And when you divide, you're going to get one of two types of decimals. You're going to get a terminating decimal, or you're going to get a repeating decimal. So what is a terminating decimal? A terminating decimal, it ends. So 1/5 is a terminating decimal because when you divide 1 by 5, you get 0.2. It ends. And 3/10 is also a terminating decimal because it ends. It would be 0.3. Well, what would be examples of repeating decimals? Well, 1/3, if you divided 1 by 3, it would be, the 3 would go on and on. It would repeat. It would be 0.333. So we use bar notation when we write our repeating decimals. So what is bar notation? Well, bar notation is the little bar that we put over the top of the number, and that tells us which number is repeating. For example, 0.3 with a bar over the 3 tells us that that 3 repeats. In the next example, the bar is over the 2.5. Now that tells us this would be 0.1, and then the 2.5 only would repeat. Now these two look the same, but they're not. The first one, the bar is only over our 7, which means only the 7 repeats in that decimal. And in the final example, the bar is over the 1 and 7, which means the 1 and 7 would repeat. So let's try a few of these. We're going to change these fractions into decimals. Some are terminating decimals and some repeat. So if you wanted to change 3/5 into, and there are a couple of ways you could do this. You could just do equivalent fractions, change that into 6/10, and then write the decimal 6/10. I mean, that is one way you could do it. Or you could use division. So we put that top dog in the house, divide it by 5, and it would be 6/10. Now 1/8. Let's put the top dog in the house. We're going to divide it by 8. 8 doesn't go into 1, but it does go into 10 one time. We subtract, we get 2. I need to add a 0. 8 will go into 20 2 times. Subtract, you get 4. I'm going to have to add another 0. And 8 goes into 40 5 times. That's a terminating decimal. 1/8 as a decimal would be 0.125. It's a terminating decimal because it ends. All right, let's do a couple more. We'll do 2 final examples. 2/9. If you wanted to change 2/9 into a decimal, we're going to put the first dog in the house, or the top dog in the house, and we're going to divide that by 9. So 9 will not go into 2, but it does go into 20 twice. Multiply and subtract. Let me add a 0. And 9 will go in there twice. And you can see what's happening here. It's repeating. It's going to go on and on forever. So we'll just stop there. So if you wanted to change 2/9 into a decimal, it'd be 0.2. And what's the number that repeats? It's the 2, so we're going to put a bar over the 2. How about 1/12? Let's put our top dog in the house. We'll divide by 12. 12 doesn't go into 1, won't go into 10, so we'll add another 0. We'll go into 100 8 times, and 8 times 12 is 96. And add another 0. And 12 will go into 43 times. 12 times 3 is 36. Going to add another 0. 12 goes in there 3, that's 36, and I think you can see what's happening here. It's starting to repeat. The 3 repeats. So if you wanted to change 1/12, if you wanted to convert it into a decimal, that would be 0.083 with a bar notation over the 3 because the 3 repeats. So again, remember, it's easy. If you want to change any fraction into a decimal, you can use division. Just divide the numerator and divide that by the denominator.